Now, Parshas Nasso is the longest parsha in the Torah. There are 176 psukim in Parshas Nasso. Interestingly enough, there are 176 pages in Baba Basra, which is the longest Masechta in Shas, and there are 176 psukim in the longest paragraph of Tehillim. Their longest 176. Now, the significance of the number 176 escapes me. I do not know what the significance is, what the number is 176, but that just happens to be a fact that these parshas have. It's page 748. These parshas happen to have the longest. What do you call it? The longest. These are the longest parshas. Now, in Parshas Nasso, again, it starts with various technical who's carrying what. And then on Pasuk Hey, it says like this. This is really, there are two central ideas over here. The first one is in the bottom of page 752. Vaydaber Hashem al Moshe lemor. Daber el bnei Yisrael, speak to the Jewish people. V'amarta aleim, ish, any man. Ki sista ishto. Now the word sista, which means to stray, also comes from the Hebrew word shoteh, which means what? To be that's shoteh with a tough. That's shoteh with a tough. This is shoteh with a test. What's a shoteh? Cheresh shoteh v'katan. A shoteh means a fool, a mindless person, somebody who is mentally incompetent. So kisista ishta, when a woman strays, umalo vomal, and she rebels against her husband. She commits. I'll use the word treachery. Wow, that's a good one. She commits treachery against him. Now what happens? A man lay with her. It was hidden from her husband and she became defiled. There was no witness and she was not caught in the act. A man is filled with a spirit of jealousy. I guess the husband senses something. I guess he was checking her emails or whatever it was. He saw the same number coming up. And it was somebody who he knows she's always been talking about. So what does the man do? The man warns his wife. We'll see in a second. We'll explain exactly what's going on. He brings her to the Beis HaMikdash. He brings her and the first thing is she brings an offering, and then turn to the next. Then turn to the next page because there's a lot of misconception here. The Kohen then gives her to drink. The Kohen gives her to drink. And how does he do it? He takes Hashem's name. Take a look at Pasuk 23. V'kosa v'sa olo sa'ela haKohen b'sefer, page 756, Pasuk 23. The Kohen writes down these various curses, including Hashem's name. Umocha el mehamorim, and then he dissolves it in the water. So Hashem's name has been erased into the water. V'hishka seisha esmei amorim amorim, he gives her to drink. Ubolva amorim amorim lamorim. Okay, now, if the woman has done wrong, take a look at Pasuk 27, 5 lines from the bottom, second word from the end of the line. V'hishka es hamayim, v'haisei nitma, if she is impure, if she has sinned. V'atim mal be'isha, she committed treachery. Uvolva hamayim me'orim l'morim v'tzavsa bitna, her belly swells, v'nafla yerecha, something happens, her thigh falls off. V'haisa isha la'olah b'kerav, she becomes a curse amongst her people. Her thigh falls off? Well, something happens to the thigh, whatever it is, it ain't good. What's that? It doesn't. I don't think it literally falls off, but it kind of gets thigh disease. I don't know what it is exactly. And then the one more pasuk, v'im lo nitma isha, if the woman is falsely accused because she was not defiled, and she's pure, v'niksa v'nizra zara, she will have children. Now, let's try to understand what's really going on here. Let's go. Yeah, go ahead.
And the guy, if there's a false, he would get lashes and get paid as well, make money?
No. I'll tell you what happens. I'll tell you why in a second. That's a good question. Why you go around accusing your wife and nothing happens? She's innocent. Okay. So let's try to understand what happens, and you'll see why he isn't. It's not such a false accusation. You see,
if he had said that he had seen her with his eyes, or had he...
No, that's not the same thing. Those are two different things. That's not there. If you accuse falsely, yes, that's false testimony. Here's a completely different process. Yeah, but there's grounds, very strong grounds for suspicion. We're talking about a man who says to his wife, "Don't be secluded with Plony." He gives her a specific warning, and then she is secluded with Plony behind a closed door for the amount of time. It has to be a minimal amount of time that cohabitation could have taken place. Whatever it is, whatever they determine in Beis Din. And she has to have been behind a closed door with the guy who he already warned her not to be alone with. So she then goes, he brings her to Beis Din, and then they say to her, okay, if you have been defiled, just fess up. All you got to do is fess up. And she says, no, I've not been defiled. Now again, look what she's done. She's been secluded with a man who her husband, she gave him reason to warn her to begin with. B, she then went and secluded herself with the guy. So, a tzaddikus she isn't. You're talking about a married woman over here. I once had a guy called me up. A guy called me up that he was a guest. A boy in the yeshiva here was a guest at somebody's house, and he started spending too much time with the other man's wife. And there had been already a beginning of physical contact. There was already a beginning of physical contact. We're talking about a firm couple. So I called. I said, "Give me the number. Let me speak to her." And I called her and I said to her, "You realize that what you're doing now is completely and utterly beyond the decent behavior for a Torah Jew. It's just unheard of in Torah society. It just does not happen. That sort of thing, And you told the boy, obviously, just stay away from that home. I told the lady on the phone that if you need counseling, you need to go speak to somebody having problems in your marriage, whatever it was, that's just completely unheard of. It just you never hear about it. Once in a blue moon it happens. Obviously it could happen because the Torah says don't do it. So like I told you, if the Torah says don't do it, it means we are capable of doing it. But it doesn't, it just, so here's a man who says to his wife, "Don't seclude yourself with Plony." Then she secludes herself with Plony. I mean, she's not in it. She's already not in it. The story, the famous story. A Rosh Yeshiva, regular Yeshiva, Main Street, he calls a boy into his office. He says, "Reuven, we're expelling you from the Yeshiva." He says, "Rebbe, why?" He says, "Because we have reports that you were seen downtown, you were holding hands with a girl." He says, "Yeah, but Rebbe, it's not true." So he says, "What? It should be true also?" Why are they even spreading story? The fact that they're even saying it about you is already not good. It's already not good. You're already crossed the line. Here's a woman. What are you doing with another man? What are you doing talking to? What are you doing getting into a situation where your husband even has to warn you? And after he's warned you, you secluded yourself behind a closed door. What were you doing in there? About playing backgammon? What were you doing there? And therefore he says all he's doing is he's bringing the evidence to Beis Din. He's not claiming what she did. He said, Ike told her, I know one thing for sure, she was behind a locked door. That I know. More than that I can't tell you, but that much I know, and he's right. Now Beis Din takes it out of his hands. Now let's see what happened over here. Yeah. It would be the same as, I'll get to what it would be the same if I said to you, Aaron bought a car from me, he paid me $5,000 cash, and it was all counterfeit money. I'm going to the feds, and that's true. I don't know that he counterfeited it. I don't even know if he knows that it was counterfeit. I'm just telling you what happened. Now you take it. Now you deal with it. Now you investigate him and you deal with it. All I'm doing is telling you the facts. So the husband's innocent over here. The husband's innocent. To the contrary, the husband has an obligation not to whitewash for his wife. If he thinks the wife is guilty of adultery, he's got to bring it to Beis Din. Okay? Yeah.
This is a little off topic.
No, go ahead.
I have a lot of extended family members who told me that a lot of Haredi men are seen at brothels and stuff. Where did that come from?
First of all, it could be that they were seen there, and it could be that men have.
If one is seen there, it applies to everyone.
Well, you remember, you have to remember that people have an axe to grind, because in trying to justify their own life choices, they want to show you're no better than we are. But it's interesting because they don't say, well, I saw secular people who were there at the brothel. No, because that's what you'd expect. When a Haredi guy does it, when the Jerusalem Post finds a Haredi rabbi who's guilty of embezzlement, they're guilty of something even more crude. It's all over the front pages. Why could you imagine a secular Israeli newspaper reporting there was a knifing in one of the state schools? It wouldn't make it to the front page. It would be a small item. Can you imagine? There was a fist fight in the yeshiva. There'd be a splash across the front pages. Because when it said, but dog bites man is not news. Man bites dog is news. That's the way it works in the world. That's the way it works in the world. So if you see a religious Jew, wow, look at all the religious Jews. All the religious Jews. I don't know any. They're not my friends. Because a couple of guys wearing black clothing, who obviously are not quite as righteous internally as they should. Okay, so we're not surprised because the Torah says don't do it. So obviously you could do it.
Have you heard that before?
Of course. Have I heard it? I mean, you got everything in the Torah. I've been involved in dealing with people who have committed the worst forms of avera. The worst. It happens. Listen, it doesn't surprise us. Where it upsets us, it doesn't surprise us. We're upset that it happened. I'm certainly not surprised because the Torah says that it could happen, especially in our day and age. So that when people from the outside, I was once in a cab, the woman cab driver, you can already imagine, where this is a woman cab driver in Tel Aviv. I had to get to Bnei Brak. So I was going from Ramat Gan. So it's a woman cab driver, and one of these, she's like a truck driver. I mean, and the way she talked and her behavior, everything. So we drive into Bnei Brak, and on the streets of Bnei Brak, we saw a guy, all of a sudden we hear a yell. There was like this pseudo yeshiva guy with some pseudo Beis Yaakov girls outside. And, they were just playfully, the guy touched them or something. She gave a yell, like they were laughing. They were goofing around. And so the cab driver turns to me and she goes, no, I see. So it happens by the Charedim. By the Charedim it happens too. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the it is that happens, But her whole life came out in that one sentence. I wasn't going to get into it with her. She's trying to justify her whole miserable existence with one incident on a sidewalk in Bnei Brak. I wasn't going to get into it with her. Is that what you see rampant on the streets of Mattersdorf? You see that rampant in Bnei Brak? In Bnei Brak, hard crime is somebody who forgets to bench. That's hard crime in Bnei Brak. Do you know that Bnei Brak didn't have a police department? They had a city of over 100,000 people without a police department. Can you imagine that happening in the United States in any city? Any city. I just think what would happen without police. Because the Jews don't do that. The Jews don't do that. Are there exceptions? Of course there are exceptions. So let's compare numbers, and then the whole discussion stops. That's the idea. So here the man accuses his wife. Now, yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. These things have to be understood. This is a very important thing because you will be accused of this. You were going to hear this. I guarantee you're going to hear this in interactions with other people. Well, I once heard about a Haredi man. Yeah, what about other Haredi men? Yeah, you once heard about. I once spoke in a prison in Israel. Do you know there was a Haredi man in the prison? There was a Haredi man in the prison, bearded, the whole thing, stepped right out of Mea Shearim. 99% of the people in the prison were not from Mea Shearim. And they were murderous, rapists, armed robbers, the whole thing, hard crime. He was in the prison. I gave a shiur there, and every time I quoted a Gemara, this guy was just kind of nodding his head. He looked like he stepped right out of a shop in Mea Shearim. So I walked over to him afterwards, and I said to him, what are you here for? He says, I forgot to pay my taxes. Yeah, okay, I don't know if he forgot to pay his taxes. Most people don't forget to pay their taxes. He forgot to pay his taxes, but he wasn't in there for beating up a cop. He wasn't in there for shooting somebody. He wasn't in there. You understand? It's as a person.
Why was he with the...
I don't know. He was in a, this was a serious penitentiary. It was a serious penitentiary. But it's like, yes, at a certain point they put certain, I don't know exactly what their rules are. But the bottom line is, where were all the other Haredim there was only one other religious guy, and he was a nationalistic guy. He's a guy with a knitted kippah who apparently got a hold of an AK-47 or something. It's just, give me some Arabs, And so they put him in there too. Those were the two guys in the prison. That was it. They say, by the way, it's the easiest way to get out of the Israeli army. When you go to the recruiting center, they say to you, why do you want to join the army? I want to get my hands on a gun. I want to go after the area. You're out. Go back to yeshiva again. That's what they say as a joke. So it's nowhere near. It's nowhere near in our communities. It's nowhere near. I mean, if even in a shul, if a guy ever raises a hand in a shul, guy raises a hand to somebody. You're yelling in shul. Once in a while, guy raises a hand to hit somebody in shul. So in my shul, I grew up in a shul. One time, a guy slugged somebody. One time in shul, a guy slugged somebody. I missed it that week. I wasn't even there. I had left. I had gone to Israel already. It's virtually unheard of. I told you, my son is in a yeshiva. Here, just let's put it proper. My son's in a yeshiva. There's 700 males in the yeshiva between the ages of 18 and 22 in a yeshiva. And not once in 4 years has he seen a fist fight. Now substitute that for any nationality in the world. They were Irish. They were Italian, right? I'm not even getting into anything that we all would laugh at. I just substitute. They don't. Jews don't hit, and Jews aren't violent, and Jews aren't. Does it happen? Yeah, it happens. It's such an exception. It's such a, what do you call it? It's completely out of what do you. So it does. Are they happen? Yeah. There are Jews who are doing things. Jews are in casinos, and Jews are involved in drugs. They have in upstate New York in the penitentiary. They have 3 daf yomi shiurs there. In a penitentiary in upstate New York. Yeah, there are Jews that are arrested for embezzlement schemes, Ponzi schemes.
There were movies about
But-
that did the
Drug smuggling and what do you call it? Yeah, okay, it can happen. They do it. Yeah, Beseder. But there are also Italians in the jails, and there are also Irish in the jails, and they don't have a daf yomi.
Reminds me of the mafia, the Jewish mafia years ago. So there is a guy, Buller. He was a vicious.
What's his name?
Buller. I have the book.
Yeah, but he's good to his mother. Yeah.
Shabbos he didn't kill.
That was Red Levine. Red Levine. There's a book. You should read that book. There was a book called but he was good to his mother. There's a guy, Red Levine, who was an Orthodox Jew, but he was a hitman for the mafia. So he wouldn't do hits on Shabbos. And if he had to do them, because it was pikuach nefesh, somebody had to die. If he had to do one, so he wore a yarmulke under his hat. And there was another guy named Longy. Yeah, it doesn't make it's just funny. It doesn't make it any better. It doesn't make it. It's just not. You don't go around killing people on Shabbos, not any other time. There's another guy named Longy Zwilman. Now, Longy Zwilman was also a gangster, and he was a Kohen, so he went to 10 funerals. Kohen doesn't walk into the chapel. The fact that he's probably the one who put the guy into the chapel to begin with, notwithstanding, but I'm a Kohen, Yamod, Longy, a murderer, Risha, Kohen, so, it's a very telling thing. It's very. I'll tell you, there is if you read the book, I was shocked because I didn't know much about the Jewish gangsters. I thought it was all like white collar crime. I mean, some of these guys are absolute murderers, but by the Jews it was interesting because it's the Jews and the Italians. By the Jews, there was no second generation. By the Jews, they never saw it as a real parnas. It was just under the circumstances. They got no choice. All their kids went to school. They had doctors, lawyers, dentists. The all became professional. The mafia, this is a perfect choice. This is what your career counselor offers you. You could be an accountant or you could be a hitman. This is perfectly okay. So for the Jews, it was complete because Jews don't do that. It's not our life. That's not our. Okay, now. So here's the man he accuses his wife. Why is he accusing her? Why is he even telling her don't meet with this guy? So, by the way, just to break a stereotype, she does not explode if she's guilty. When she drinks the water, she doesn't explode. There's this idea that she drinks the water if she's guilty or it doesn't say anywhere she explodes. Her stomach swells up, and she dies some sort of painful death where her thigh was like Binyamin ass. Exactly what it is, I don't know, but it's not good. She kind of falls apart. But she doesn't explode. So it's not after dinner mint. She doesn't go boom, it's not like she explodes. Now, the question the commentaries ask her are twofold. There's several questions here. Question number one is that there's something about this that you yourselves should notice. If you compare it to the entirety of the rest of Torah, there's something very, very unique here. Something very unique in this situation which you don't find anywhere else in Torah. Anybody have an idea what it is? We're on page 756, the woman who is accused of infidelity, treacherous behavior, right? There's something about this entire process. You're close. There's something about this entire process which is different than the entire rest of the Torah. We don't find it anywhere else in the Torah.
They write God's name.
What?
They write God's name and it gets erased.
Yes. In other words, what's happening here is supernatural intervention. You never find that in any halachic process ever. You don't go to a posek and say to a posek, even in the time of prophecy, prophets never prophesied halacha. You go to a prophet and say to him, listen, my dairy spoon fell into my fleshik pot. Is it treif or not? And the prophet just closes his eyes and, and he sees a golden spoon in his vision. He says, yes, it's kosher. You never find that. Ever. You open up a Shulchan Aruch, you read the halacha, you paskin based on what the halacha says. That's it. That's the whole process. You never find a situation in Torah where there's a supernatural intervention. And all of a sudden over here, a woman comes to the base of the take God's name, erase God's name into the water, drink the water, and either she's good or she's not good. Why is there supernatural intervention here? Why here of all places there's supernatural intervention? We won't find it anywhere else in Torah. There were miracles in Torah, the Jewish people, the sea splits and the plagues, but not in the halachic realm. Not in the halach. If a guy's got saras, I'll get to you one second, but a guy's got leprosy, what does he do? He goes to the Kohen, he shows it to the Kohen takes a look. Saras, leprosy, and out he's got, because he spoke Lashon Hara, he's got some sort of outbreak on his skin. So he goes to the Kohen and he looks, the Kohen takes one look, he says, yes, it's saras, that means the guy's tameh. Or the Kohen says, no, that doesn't qualify, the guy's tahor. Why do that? Why not have the Kohen should erase God's name, put it in the guy's mouth, and we'll see if the guy, then the guy becomes sarat. The answer is, nowhere do you find that the Kohen paskins. Also, why not over here? You got a Kohen. It says openly in the Torah. They go to the Kohen. So why does the Kohen just listen to the circumstance? The Kohen says, no, she's okay. Or, no, she's guilty. Why do you have a supernatural intervention over here where you have to erase God's name? What do you say, Binyamin?
Is it because that in this case there was no witness? If there had been no witness?
There is no. That's true. Something happened behind closed doors. There were no witnesses, and we have no way of really knowing objectively. Even saras, the Kohen takes a look at it, or even treif milk, a spoon falls into the soup. Posek takes a look at it, and he says, But at the end of the day, there's also, here you have less even circumstantial evidence, right? On the other hand, you got plenty of circumstantial evidence. Guy warned his wife, don't be alone with this guy, and she was alone with this guy behind a closed door. I mean, come on, lady. A tzaddikas, she isn't. What do you say, Isaac?
Is it the severity? Meaning that if she was with them and we say that she was, then we kill her. And if that's wrong, then that's a big problem. If she's
That's certainly
not
part of
with
it.
them,
That's certainly part of it.
or if she's with them and we don't say it and she receives, which is the other extreme that she's going to get from this, then she's carrying someone else's baby.
That's certainly part of it. That's certainly part of it. That the severity on both sides, like you say, any way you turn, you're in a bit of a catch-22 here. And like Binyamin says, we don't have absolute. We only have circumstantial evidence. We may need something a little bit more. That's certainly true. So what the Gemara says is, we see from here how important peace and harmony in the home is. Sholem Bias, is that your guess? We see how important good. So now you'll apply it when you get married. We see how important peace and harmony is in the home. Why is that? Because, imagine we do ask the Kohen. And the Kohen says, well, what happened? And you warned her and she went in and, I think she's okay. I think she'll go. Remember, if she's sinned, she's prohibited to her husband. She cannot go back and live with her husband. If she's guilty, she can't go back and live with her husband. So if the Kohen says, well, I think she's innocent, the husband will never be able to look at his wife the same again and think to himself, did she or didn't she? There will be a gnawing doubt which is going to undermine the very fabric of the harmony in their home. Therefore, you need, Hashem shows you, for the sake of maintaining peace and harmony in the home, I allow my name, because it's the only thing that will appease the husband. The husband will then see she drinks the water, nothing happened to her. Obviously, HaKadosh Baruch Hu intervened over here. She's still innocent. We got some issues because she did seclude herself, and we better go for counseling. But at least he doesn't have that block, that annoying doubt in his mind. Did she or didn't she? That is going to be the, what do you call it? That is why you have divine intervention. Now, the extension is, the Gemara says that there was once Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir was once giving a shir. And it was Friday night. Rabbi Meir, the great Rabbi Meir, was giving a shir. It was Friday night. And he sees a woman hanging around right outside the door of the Beis Medrash. And what happened was, I started in the middle, sorry. Let's start from the beginning. There was a woman who was at Rabbi Meir's shir. And after it was Friday night, and from the shir she went home. And her husband apparently was hungry, and he had to wait for her. He said to her, where were you? So I was at Rabbi Meir, was giving a shir for women. I was at the shir. She says, I'm not letting you in the house until you go back and you spit in Rabbi Meir's eye. So her husband apparently was in a really bad mood. So the wife goes and she's hanging around the Beis Medrash where Rabbi Meir is teaching. Rabbi Meir sees the woman and he gets through Ruach HaKodesh, he gets an understanding of exactly what transpired between the woman and her husband. So Rabbi Meir, all of a sudden he looks, he sees her outside there, he goes, ow, ow, oh! He says, lady, come here, I need you to spit, I need human saliva in my eye, spit my eye 7 times. So she goes, well, he says, no, I need human saliva, quickly, I got an eye ailment. So the woman goes, spits 7 times in his eye, like a 16-year-old's dream. Spits in his eye, spits in his eye 7 times. And Rabbi Meir says, good, now go home and tell your husband, you told me to spit in his eye once, I spat in his eye 7 times. So the woman scampers off happily. And the Talmidim are there, the disciples. They come to and say, "Okay, what was that all about?" They know the Rebbe. They know. So, what now? What's up with that? So Rabbi Meir says to them, "Look, this is what happened between her and her husband." And I figured, so he says, "Why didn't you just tell us? Tell us what happened. We would have gone. We would have fixed the guy proper. He would have let her in. He would have taken her in with open arms after we got finished with him. Why'd you have to go through that whole rigmarole?" So Rabbi Meir says, "Look, if Hashem allows His name to be erased for the sake of maintaining peace and harmony between a husband and a wife, I too can allow my honor to be degraded for the sake of maintaining peace and harmony between a husband and a wife." This is a very crucial life lesson, because a lot of husbands forget that it applies to them in their own marriage. It applies to them in their own marriage, not in somebody else. It's like, yeah, I'll do it for your marriage. I'll maintain peace and harmony. What about in your own marriage? A guy once came to a rabbi. He said, why don't we have a special prayer for Sholem Bias? In Shemon Esrei, we daven for all sorts of things. Why don't we have a special prayer? Please Hashem, grant us Sholem Bias. Please help that my credit card should not disappear numerous times. Please help that my wife should have dinner ready on time. Please help me to speak politely to her. Well, we also ask for, we ask for, yeah, that's true, that's true. That's true, but at the end of the day, why don't we say a tefillah for Shalom? We do say, Amreches Amo Yisrael B'Shalom, we do that, say, Sim Shalom Tov V'Bracha, please Hashem, let there be harmony in my home, which you could think about, certainly during a prayer. But that's what the guy asked the rabbi. So the rabbi said to him, well, you do say a prayer for it every day. You say it in every Shemon Esrei. It says, V'nafshi ke'ofar lakol tiyeh, let my soul be like dirt to everybody. Right? That includes your wife. That includes your wife. Humble yourself in front of your wife, then you'll have Sholem Bias. That's all it takes. All it takes is Sholem Bias is one of the easiest things in the world. Just do whatever she says. That's it. That's the formula right there. Just do whatever she says and don't argue. It's the easiest thing in the world. So in your own marriage, a person also has to humble himself. You don't always have to have your way. You don't always have to be right.
What if she's doing stuff that's prohibited? Like, what if it's a halachic issue?
A halachic issue has to be.
You're supposed to bring your Torah knowledge back into the home, and she's doing stuff she's not supposed to be doing. How
Yeah,
do you manage that?
yeah. How do you manage that? I've yet to see that, because it's usually the husband who's doing the thing he shouldn't be doing. And when a wife is doing something she shouldn't be doing, the husband tells her, and she sense. See, the problem with the women is the women sense everything on us, and they sense all of our motivation. So sometimes the husband will say something to his wife in halacha because she said something to him in halacha the day before, and she was right. She nailed him on something. Right, so when the wife nails the husband, and they're sitting at the Shabbos table, the wife says, you can't do that. That's borer, which is an isser d'oraisa. Then the next day the husband says, oh, by the way, you're not allowed to put detergent in the laundry because it's Shemitah. Something, make up something just to get her back. And usually she's right and he's wrong. She's right and he's wrong, because the men have that ego. If your wife is doing something correct, you say to your wife, oh, by the way, I think that the halacha is, in a gentle way, where she senses that what you're really concerned about is the halacha not getting even. And they sense it. They know it. They know it all 100%. And if you tell her, listen, I think that we just learned that this is what he goes. Oh, she'll say, fine. If you treat your wife well, she'll do anything for you. Anytime I hear about a couple who becomes religious, and the marriage splits up because the husband was more religious than the wife, what that tells me is that the husband was not treating the wife properly. Because if the husband would treat the wife properly, the wife would grow payas. Right? The wife will do anything as long as the husband, she wants to please him, but she wants to be treated like a human being. And if the husband is being too difficult, he's being too lectury and too critical and everything else, then the wife's going to rebel. That's clear. I just had a couple that was speaking to me about a marriage that broke up. They're in the second marriage now. And I was speaking to both to the husband and to the new wife, and they were asking me about certain issues they're having with the old wife. So I said to the couple, I just want to ask you a question. You said you want to be frank. I want to ask you a question. And I turned to the husband and I said, how much was your anger and impatience an issue in your first marriage? And the second wife says to me, the husband goes, well, it was an issue. And the second wife says, it was a big issue. She's spoken to the ex. And my guess is, it wasn't a big issue, it was the issue. It was the issue. And a wife that then absolutely rebels. A wife could have a breakdown if a husband doesn't treat her properly. That's what the Torah is teaching us over here, number one. Number two, that's as far as the divine intervention. That is the importance of Sholem Bias. Number two, I heard about a guy that came to, if there's a very good book you should read, The River, the Kettle, and the Bird by Rav Aaron Feldman, which is about maintaining Sholem Bias. And in The River, the Kettle, and the Bird, I think that's where I saw it. A husband and wife come to Rabbi Feldman, and the wife says they're having serious problems with the marriage. So the wife says to him, he says, what seems to be the problem? The wife says, well, every day after he comes home from work, he sits me down and he tells me everything I did wrong that day. So Rabbi Feldman turns out and says, is that true? Do you do that? He said, yes. He said, why? He said, well, somebody's got to train her. Now, every woman in the world has the exact same reaction when they hear that story, by the way. Almost in unison, what do they all say? Well, who's going to train him? Yeah. The men are worried about training the wives. It doesn't work that way. The wife trains the husband. The wife trains the husband. Well, husband trains. When you get married, I can tell you what your mindset when you get married. You look at your wife and say, "Wow, she's lovely. I hope she's always like this." And she looks at you and she thinks to herself, "He's got wonderful potential." And that's all the difference right there. You're thinking she's wonderful, and she thinks you got wonderful potential because you're the project, not her. Not her. She's the assistant. The boss doesn't work on the assistant. The assistant works on the boss. You're there to help the boss. You're the boss, and you're the project. And if you understand that and you get it through your thick skulls like I had to, and it took me a while, till I realized that that's the reality of life. And I also realized more than that, the more you respect your wife, Gesundheit, the more you show your wife respect. You know the Rambam, it's a remarkable statement the Rambam makes. If you think about this, because this is probably sums up marriage more than anything else. The Rambam says you have to love your wife as much as yourself and respect her more than yourself. It's actually a statement in the Gemara. Ohava kegufo umechabda yoser migufo. You have to love her more than yourself and respect her. You have to love her as much as yourself and respect her more than yourself. Why? Why is there's a lack of parallel over it, lack of symmetry. When it comes to love as much as yourself, when it comes to respect her more than yourself. Why is that? So the answer is that when it comes to love, that means we all love ourselves. And we all take good care of ourselves. In the material realm, we all take as good care of ourselves as we can. If you take care of your wife in the material realm as well as you take care of yourself, you're doing very well. But what about respect? What about respect? Respect is the great equalizer. You see, what happens is women need, not even demand, they need a different level of respect than men. I could have a conversation with you back to back. We could have a conversation. Mr. Fogel, what's happening? He'll tell me behind the newspaper. We can have a conversation like every 3 hours. You can't talk like that to a woman. Women, you got to look her in the eye. Watch two women talking to each other. Ever see women talking to each other? They look at each other from about 3 inches away. They got their faces about 3 inches away, like this, and they're almost turning their heads in sync. They're almost like, they're locked in on radar, and all you hear them say is things like, "Oh, I know what you mean. Oh, 100%. Oh, that's so true," right? Because they need to be. What's the word they always use? They need to be validated. I don't need to be validated. I'm valid. And if you don't think I'm valid, I don't care what you think. I am valid. You need to be, I went into the store and I'm like, did I do the right thing? Her whole evening depends on what you say now. Well, I wouldn't have done that. And she's crushed. She's devastated. You say, oh, yeah, that's absolutely the only thing you could have done. Really? I don't care what you think. As long as I got my money back in the store, I don't care what you think if I'm valid or not valid. I could care less. I could have a conversation with you, and the whole conversation is, you're crazy. I watched two guys watching a sporting event. Best friends are watching a sporting event. He's great. Now he stinks. Oh, you're wrong. You're an idiot. These are two best friends. You can't do that with your wife. She's got to be treated on a completely different level. Mechabda yoser migufa. She needs something that I don't need. And a lot of men learn that the hard way. You learn it the hard way. And then when you come to terms with that and you realize that, then you've succeeded in Sholem Bias, number one. Number two, the Chazon Ish's sister once asked the Chazon Ish, what's the secret to success? She was getting married. The Chazon Ish was one of the Torah, was essentially the Torah leader after the Chafetz Chaim. After the Chafetz Chaim died, then the Torah leader in Israel at the time was the Chazon Ish. Yeah, he was the Chazon Ish was nifter in 1953. in 1953, and he was a Rav Avram Yeshaya Karelitz. He was the Torah leader of the Jewish community in Eretz Yisrael. So the Chazon Ish was asked by his sister. She's getting married. Give her advice for marriage. So Chazon Ish said to her, at the moment you want to take, that's the moment you have to give. That's it. That's the whole marriage right there. That's it in a nutshell. The moment you want to take, that's the moment you have to give. That's it. That's all a marriage. Right? And a person has to understand that's how important Sholem Bias is. And if a guy was getting married, he went to his Rosh Yeshiva, a bracha in Yeshiva. He said, Rebbe, give me a bracha, I'm getting married. So the Rebbe said, I give you a bracha, you should have Sholem Bias. So the bracha he said, why, do you suspect that I'm not? His Rosh Yeshiva said, look, I've given guys brachas that they should have parnasa, they should succeed in their learning, they succeed. But one thing I've learned, if you have Sholem Bias, you have everything, and if you don't have Sholem Bias, you haven't got anything. So I always give a bracha now for Sholem Bias. You got Sholem Bias, you got everything. So a man has to know the responsibility of marriage. Our perspective is responsibility of marriage falls squarely on the shoulders of the husband. It's your job to make it work. If you treat your wife properly, she reciprocates. If a woman treats a husband well, he doesn't necessarily reciprocate. It's to the contrary. Husbands have an incredible capacity to take. Hey, this is great. She's giving him everything and doing everything. This is terrific. So he takes some more. That's where the things crumble down. He forgets that he has to reciprocate. He interrupts her when she speaks, which is the most blatant sign of disrespect. You just interrupt her. Wife's talking, you cut her off. The most blatant sign of disrespect for another person is to cut them off when they're speaking. Do they speak a lot? Yes. But so what? You have the responsibility to listen and listen attentively. I have a policy. Nothing my wife ever says at the Shabbos table is wrong. No matter what she says, it's right at the Shabbos table. Especially if there's guests. Especially if they're guests. No matter what she says. So could talk about, if she could say something like, it wasn't the Chafetz Chaim on the Sanhedrin? You can say, well, she's off by about 2,000 years, right? And I'll say, well, not exactly, but if there was a Sanhedrin nowadays, he'd definitely be on the Sanhedrin. He'd definitely has something like that. And they appreciate it because they know that they're wrong. And they know that you're trying to make the effort. A husband walks into the house and says, wow, it's a beautiful new picture. Wow, I really like that. The wife says, well, it's been there for 3.5 months. That's the new one. I meant that one. I meant that one. It doesn't matter. You score points because she sees you're trying. She knows you're an idiot. She knows you don't. And not only that, she knows you don't care. She knows you don't care, but at least you're showing that you're trying to care. Then you got to be a fool, an absolute fool, to make a big deal of anything in the house. Some people bicker about the color of the curtains. Husbands say, I don't like those curtains over there. Yeah, you should have gotten the green one. Well, you got get a life. Well, you got nothing else to do but to pick on curtains in the house? That's her realm. That's her turf. Never touch anything the wife puts in the house. Puts up a plant. I don't know what's with women and plants. I don't know what it is. Every safer stuff, everything with farm has a plant on top, right? They always have plants. You don't touch what a wife puts in the house. Don't touch it. Leave the plants. Just try to switch it with some hemp. But what do you call it? But other than that, she'll never notice. Right? But what do you call it? Never, what do you call it? No, don't touch what a wife does. If you respect her, you have a great marriage. That's the way it works. That's the way it works in the best of marriages. Now, that's idea number one. Idea number two, there's another question. What woman are we talking about? This goes back to what you were saying before, Aaron. Who are we talking about over here? Who is this woman we're talking about who is suspected of committing the worst aveira in the Torah? Who is this woman? We're talking about a Beis Yaakov girl. We're talking about a girl. We're not talking about a girl off from Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin. We're talking about a Beis Yaakov girl over here. Right? She doesn't wear skirts. She wears tents. Who are we talking about over here? So the commentator says, how did a nice girl like this end up in a situation like this? How did she end up over here? How could it possibly be? That's a question. We'll have to deal with that tomorrow. How did this woman end up in this situation over here? You're talking about the frummest of the frum. The frummest of the frum. She wears a cape with a big F on it. Frum. Like Superman's cape. She's wrapped up, double coverage on wide receivers. Where, how? That we'll have to deal with tomorrow. That's a fundamental in Judaism, and it goes back to what Aaron asked earlier. Okay.